an influencer, it gives you the edge that separates you from the competition. The GIP initiative, the Global Influencers Partners Program, is designed to expose you to over 5 billion potential consumers across the world. When you are a rising star in business and you need visibility, reach, impact, client conversion, and cash flow optimization, positioning yourself to become a global influencer may be the ideal tool that you need in your arsenal to win in business. I encourage you to join the GIP initiative and position your business to build confidence, trust, and credibility and cash flow optimize the fastest.
One of the questions that every rising star in business is going to be asking themselves or should be asking themselves is what is the fastest way to scale their business and their brand? And as you think about this question, two important answers come to mind. One is how can you deploy leadership to fast track the growth of your business? And second, how significant is influence in the process of helping you to achieve your business objective? Well, today we're going to do a deep dive into what is leadership and how can leadership be designed and deployed to help you attain the competitive advantage in business. Alongside leadership, we will also be exploring how important is influence? What exactly is influence? And what this tool can do to drive your business success, optimize your business cash flow, and position you to make impact, not just locally, nationally, regionally, but also internationally. To join me in today's conversation, I have a team of dynamic personalities who are going to join me on stage. First, I have Peter Scott, and Peter Scott, he is a theologist, but he is also in entrepreneurship because what he has done, he has combined theology with his knowledge of business, and he have built out some very unique program to help those in his community. Along with this, I have Frank, Clement Frank, and Clement Frank, he is an economist by profession, and he's a leader also. The icing on the cake is that Frank is about to release a new book that can do wonders for you in business. And I say this against the backdrop Frank just didn't write the book from research. Of course, he did the research, but he has been in the field of academia for many, many years. He has lectured at the top universities within the Caribbean. So I know that you're going to be getting some of that flavor in the information that he's going to be presenting to you in this book. And we have Shani C. Shani C. She is a project management practitioner. And of course, Shani C. in of herself, she is a lecturer. She is a serial entrepreneur, and she's a pleasant person to be around. So I'm certain that in today's program, we're going to be getting so much of information on leadership and influence. So I want to welcome each and every one of you to today's program. How was your guys' weekend? Let me start with Peter. Peter, how was your weekend, my friend?
My weekend was what I do best. I love to work. Like enjoy what I do. And right now we're in the building stages of certain things. We're just a couple days away or 2 weeks away from our legacy summit. So all my attention is given into that. But I do
The
enjoy.
summit. Wow. Yeah, I know those summits. I've been part of those summits for the last few years. Very powerful platform. So keep doing what you do best, my brother. All right, I'm gonna come to Shivani. Shivani, how was your weekend? You sound as though you had a restful weekend. I can see all the cheeks are still puff here from all the sleep.
Really? Or it's just fatness on my cheeks that you see it?
Fatness on the cheek. Baby, all right, I'm gonna find out just now.
Yeah. So I'm just like Peter, you're just doing some work at any point, and so like on a Monday, you would see me probably lunchtime or something. I finish work because I work Saturday and Sunday, so I could take a little break Monday after lunch. So
Yeah.
that is our. I'm just like Peter, that's how we work. We work at any point, but any point in the week, if you feel to go to the coffee shop, you go to tea, wherever, that's what you're doing.
Right.
So I'm just like Peter like that. And I think a lot more creatives, like if you are more in the creative space and creating new things, that's how you have to work, because at any point, as you know, Gary, you may get an idea and you have to just run with the idea.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's always
Exactly.
a juggle. It's always a juggle between creative and maintaining. How do you create and how do you maintain? It's a juggle between the two. But yes,
Okay.
my weekend was good.
Awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. Well, let me come back to the fat in the face. Peter, I'm thinking that I'm supposed to be the one with the fat in the face because I'm the one that like the KFC, right?
Yes.
So,
me.
but I now have to wonder if there's a better competition because only recently I heard that Shivani has a secret formula.
Yeah.
For Shivani, can I see the cup that you have there?
Yes, please, please.
Enjoy little
You see?
things.
No,
Enjoy
but
little.
here, what is Shivani's secret? I thought that Shivani's secret was the coffee to get that adrenaline rush, but I just recognized she has a secret sauce. Gin and tonic.
Shivani, can I see?
Not
Gin and
not
tonic.
7 o'clock in the morning. Not 7 o'clock in the morning. No, not 7 o'clock in the morning at all.
Okay, so the magic pill is gin and tonic, right? All right, Shivani, I have to try that. So when I tell you, guy, I don't drink coffee. So if you see, I have my cup here. Is gin and tonic.
No.
My morning with
Intervention for you from Frank at 7 o'clock in the morning. That is what you're doing for sure.
And I already planned the intervention with KFC, so I
Yes.
don't know that.
Frank, how about you guys? How was your weekend?
It was fun. I was way out of town. That's like about 80 miles away from town on Friday.
Okay.
So I came back like um just out of it. And then Saturday I had to go buying some paint and sprucing up a property. So but it was fun.
Yes.
It's a great weekend. It was a great weekend.
Well, Frank, I hope that if you're sprucing up a property, you're following your wife's instructions to the T. Yeah?
Let me tell you, the choice of paint, the way it has to be done,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
everything else is under her instructions.
Right. So you'll execute well. Just execute the plan. Yeah.
That's
And
all I
things
got.
will go well.
And Shivani, I know Frank's wife, and she is a strong lady. She in no push over. She's strong, very strong.
So exactly, she will have to just follow the instructions.
But she does take advice
Yeah.
at times. Because if she doesn't, she realizes she gets into all kind of problems. She realizes.
So you're
Oh.
practicing what you preach as well. Influence. You are influencing the outcome.
Exactly. After all these years, something she has to learn
Yes.
something.
Experience teaches wisdom, right?
Yeah.
Good.
So
But I
forgot
guess you guys
to
are.
tell Gary, I forgot
Go ahead,
to tell
Shivani.
Peter that I started to write the book. Remember, we were talking about the book that I wrote,
Wow.
not on leadership, like Frank, like Frank. So
Yeah.
this book that I'm writing, it came about because of our conversations and what Peter was talking about, was telling your story. So I did
Yeah.
a lot of research. I started research for the past couple of weeks. So the book will be entitled Shop on the Hill. Shop on the Hill. And it's about community tourism and some great stuff. So So yeah, I'm doing research right now. I'm researching. My dad and I yesterday we did a lot of research. I questioning him about many things. So he's
Yeah.
taking it down memory lane as well too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I'm
Well, I
happy
must
you
say,
put that shop on the hill because
Top of the hill.
I always remembered when I lived on the Lady Young highway there, the Lady Young Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on a hill. And what 2 weeks ago, what occurred to me, I should chronicle my life in Trinidad
Okay. Right.
and my experiences. So I gotta ask some questions from you about what it is like now compared to when I was there.
Well, when you just come, you'll just go around and you will remember it again.
Yes. All right. I like the theme shop on a hill.
Shop on the hill. Yeah, my dad actually said, name the book Shop on the Hill. It's not on a total, it's like a little incline kind of thing, but people used to
Yeah,
Shop on the Hill.
yeah. There were a lot of that.
awesome.
There was a lot of those in Trinidad. I remember.
So I had to show my dad a photo of Peter, like to tell him, hey, this is how I got the idea from. This is the person.
Excellent. You see how Peter branding?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He branded.
Peter is very aggressive. I like the aggressive. I tell Peter Saturday, I gotta hang my mouth with the soup running with that kind of aggression. He the money flowing through a pipe, it flowing through a pump. The pump you're gonna
It just gushing.
extinguish by. Yeah,
It's just gushing.
man got it going on, boy.
Getting on the action.
All right,
Getting
guys.
on-
I'll tell you. Is we
on the
rubbish shoulder bit? Is Frank? Is we rubbish shoulder bit, man? You? Yeah. That fancy strategy, the guy.
What type of when you're when you hear about strap,
or Shabali.
when you hear about Shaven, what's it again? Being able to project planning and all them stuff. That's what is going on here. So it means that I'm taking notes. That's what it is. I'm taking notes.
No,
I like that.
we all
I
take
like
notes
that.
from each other. That's how you
I
learn.
like that. Definitely. Well, today I think that the public has a lot of note taking to do because we're going to be embarking on a pretty interesting conversation. We're going to be looking at leadership and influence. I do believe that when you want to be successful in business, these are two important concepts that you should never divorce yourself from. Now, what I'm going to do to get the ball rolling, I'm going to jump into the conversation by looking at these two topics separately. What is leadership and what is influence? And how can you see leadership and influence in the context of scaling your business and your brand? Can you leverage these tools to fast track how you scale up your business and your brand? And the answer from the get-go, I believe that leadership plays a very important role in giving you the tools, the processes, and the systems to scale up your business. And let me say why. Now, first of all, what is leadership? And there are many shades of leadership. Can talk about autocratic leadership, democratic leadership, paternalistic leadership, laissez-faire. But the leadership I am more inclined to talk about is the type of leadership that we have coined. And we call this type of leadership the proactive leadership. Now, what makes proactive leadership stands out, and how does this relate to your business? Now, to understand how this relates to your business, it's important to understand what exactly is proactive leadership, the characteristics of a proactive leader. Now, notes here. First of all, the proactive leaders, they think ahead. So if you're starting a business and you want to scale a business, you cannot be reactive. You want to be proactive. And being proactive means that you're thinking ahead. Now, what exactly are you thinking ahead about? You're thinking ahead about the essential human resources that you need to move your process forward. And in the context of human resources, you have to see this in the context of your strategic, tactical, and operational team. All right, you want to think ahead about this. You don't want to start a business and you simply just start. You want to ask yourself, what are the essential human resources that I need to move the vision forward? What are the essential technical resources that I need to move my vision forward? What are the essential capital resources that I need to move my vision forward? So, one of the tools that proactive leaders use is the process, the art of thinking ahead. And these are important concepts that you must think ahead about. Because very often, when you start the process and you didn't think tank and brainstorm the essential human resources to move the vision forward, but you are in the project and you don't have the human resources and you're now trying to figure out where to get the human resources from, it undermines the pace in which you can grow and scale your brand and the idea. So it makes a lot of sense that before you start the process, that you pause a bit and you think tank. Who are the people that I need on my strategic team? Strategic mean who's your board of directors? Who are your investors? Who are those key decision makers that you need at the top level of the organization? Depending on your organization chart, you can now fill them with not just people, the right people to function in the organization. Perhaps you may want to say you want independent thinkers, you want experience, like Shivani is talking with her dad who has years of experience. Also, she has a lot of experience. She goes to her dad who also have more experience, and they can combine that knowledge to create a perfect outcome. All right, a close to perfect outcome. You may have to do the same as you're building your team. All right. So these are important concepts for you to think about as you position yourself to be successful in business. So one of the tools that the proactive leaders use is to think ahead. But let me say this. Very often we see that you may be able to think tank and you may be able to brainstorm. Shivani, who is an expert project manager, I know may be able to identify with what I'm talking about. People may think tank and brainstorm. They may even go into that process where they are developing their business plan. But guess what? As you think tank and brainstorm, these are the human resources that I need. These are the technical resources that I need. These are the capital resources that I need. Many persons are stuck in the problem zone. I have seen many rising stars in business. You know what you want to accomplish, but guess what? The ability to take action, all right, to achieve that, it is something that you are not doing. So you are stuck in the problem zone. I see this happen a lot. Many businesses, you know that you need capital to move the vision forward. But guess what? The capital that is available to you, it might be debt capital, depending on where you are in the world. Because it has high interest rate, it's not necessarily the capital that you want. You want capital that has more flexible payment term and all of this. So you're think tanking, you're brainstorming, you have an idea as to what you want, but you just don't know how to get past the problem zone. I've seen this happen with many, many businesses who will say to you, the high cost of capital is the reason why I'm not taking debt to grow and scale the business. And that decision causes business to remain in pivot stage for a long time. You want to move from pivot into seriously up leveling with the right information. So these are things you want to think tank. The last element that I'm going to look at here for now, as you think about proactive leadership, is what we call informed action. And informed action is different than just taking action because informed action actually indicates that you're interfacing with someone that can help you to make informed decision, not just a decision, but informed decision. So in the context that you need capital, the right capital, and you don't know how to get that, it makes sense to perhaps connect with a financial specialist, connect with a mentor, a coach, a sponsor, an advisor who specialize in the financial mix. They might be able to say to you, okay, locally, the type of capital that you're looking for is not available to you, but perhaps they may be able to say to you, if you set up an international business, that international business may be able to access international capital. And because you're now accessing international capital, you can take capital and invest it back into your localized industry. All of this is possible. So proactive leaders, they are coming with a special skills that can seriously help you to fast track and scale up your business and your brand. So two things can happen here. One, you can expose yourself to the content of information that helps you to become the proactive leader, the leader that thinks ahead, see beyond problems, and is trained to take informed action. And you bring that body of knowledge now into the organization in an effort to drive the business success and get past the problem zone of finding the right capital, finding the right human resources and the technical resources to move the vision forward. The second thing that you can do if you don't have the time to learn the skills, if you and your staff, or you don't have a staff to learn the skill, perhaps the next thing that you can do is to connect with specialists in this field that can really sit with you and say, hey, you want to scale your business? You need to think ahead about project management. You need to think ahead about leadership. You need to think ahead about capital. And they can loan their expertise to you. You can find an expert and make them a consultant to the organization to help you to get past some of the startup challenges, some of the scale up challenges, and some of the business expansion challenges. The proactive leader, they have a special skill, and I see that this skill is being so important in helping businesses to grow and scale. Now, this is only one example of what proactive leaders represent, and I can go much deeper into this, but I think this is enough for now to help you to understand. I am not just talking about leadership. I'm not just talking about autocratic, democratic, paternalistic leadership. I'm speaking specifically here about proactive leadership. And it's all about you being trained to think ahead, critical thinking, see beyond problems, and take informed action to achieve desired results. I'm going to pause here for now. I'm not going to get into influence. We'll talk about that later down in the program once time permits. But I'm going to turn to Frank, and I'm going to ask Frank to perhaps chime in or expand on the significant role that leadership plays in helping to fast track the scale up of a business or a brand. All to you, Frank.
All right, good. Thanks, Gary. Great to be here. Great to be talking to you. I want to look at how leadership needs evolve as your company scales. One thing is that many companies who are that's on the verge of growth believe it takes an experienced CEO to scale a company and to scale it efficiently and effectively. And this has long been the view among private equity professionals, and it makes sense. After all, leaders who have been tasked with the top spot in creating exponential growth in the past are aware of the common pitfalls and opportunities that actively scaling startups can face. However, as the rate of marketplace change continues to grow, experience has the potential to become more of a liability than an insurance policy, especially without the presence of other valuable leadership characteristics. In fact, a CEO's success or failure in scaling a startup of any size may have more to do with their readiness, with their purpose, and other leadership traits and skills, and how those traits and skills align with the company's particular stage of growth. Companies who understand the evolving leadership competencies that are needed for a company to scale and can act on those ideas to make sure they have the correct leadership and skill sets in place are the companies who will ultimately succeed in scaling. Talent needs evolve as company grows. As any startup leader or employee knows, when you're smaller, everyone has broader roles and is required to wear many hats. However, as you begin to scale, roles start to become more specialized. That's even more true of a startup's leadership. And if you want to scale, the role of your leader needs to change. It's going to be a shock to the system because what's required of a leader becomes a completely different skill set. Whereas startup leader began as an entrepreneurial challenger and problem solver, once growth begins in earnest, they need to be able to hire the right people and enable them to succeed, delegate and give feedback, build the right teams, and develop the right organizational structure. So you have that as talent needs as a business begins to grow, but then you have leadership needs by growth stage. So we can generally break down leadership needs by stage using what's called the Odgers-Bernstein Scale-Up Initiative. And that's a leadership evolve framework. With each new round of investments, startups enter a new stage in their life cycle, adding further complexity. As the organization scales, what is required of the leadership also evolves. So I'm not able to project the startup life cycle, but in the stage one process, which is an early stage or seed fund, the leadership requirements are entrepreneurial. You have to challenge the status quo. You have to be a problem solver. You have to be resilient and be an experimenter. But as you move to stage two, we call it growth series A, the requirements are now shifted to strategist, business developer, how you drive results, being inspirational, being a problem solver, and being resilient and a fast learner. When you move to stage three, which is growth maturing, is where you're building organizational capability and operational excellence. You now begin to understand and respond to market dynamics. You have to drive culture of high performance. You have to be people leadership and empowering them. And then the established startup at stage four is where you have portfolio management. And then you're balancing growth versus change versus consolidation. Then you drive value from maximizing resources. You're aligning with organization and you build a sustainable culture. You also have to drive continuous improvement. You have to be inspirational with stakeholders. You have to be a leader of leaders, and then you build your talent pipeline. There's a difference between knowing versus doing. And one of the major challenges startups can face is that knowing leadership needs have changed versus taking action to align skill sets with those needs are two wildly different things. Companies that are in the venture capital and private equity spaces understand the key activities associated with each stage of growth for their portfolio companies. And they also understand that this can be a very difficult thing to do. And one reason for this is that what made a leader successful at one stage will be insufficient in making them successful at subsequent stages. There are leaders who excel at the early stage hands-on skills, but they struggle to transition to the next stage in which a leader must manage and develop teams. Now, if this is the case, companies have two options. One, assess current leaders against the competencies required at the next stage, or two, to identify gaps and works uh, to close them through development and coaching. The second option you have is hire new leaders with the agility to make these transitions. And even though developing or finding the right leadership for each growth stage is difficult, it is critically important. In fact, being able to successfully evolve leadership and leadership competencies or not is what often makes the difference between companies that succeed in scaling and those who do not. And don't count out founders. You see, one dilemma we often help our private equity clients is founder readiness, to replace or not to replace. There's a counterintuitive statement that experience isn't always what's most important when it comes to startup leadership. And for that same reason, we need not count out first-time CEOs. Taking a chance on a founder or first-time CEO may create anxiety, but the numbers tell a different story. The chances of reaching an exit are equal for both first and second-time CEOs. In addition, research shows that founder-led companies outperform non-founder-led companies. Founder-led companies were found to perform 3.1 times better than non-founder-led companies in terms of index total shareholder return over 15-year time span. Chris Zook, founder-led companies of Plum Perez. Here's why, and they wrote in Harvard Business Review. Equally, companies with a founder CEO have been shown to be more innovative, more likely to take their firms in new technological directions, and more likely to create financial valuable innovations than firms led by non-founder CEOs. So retaining a founder as your company scaled may bring significant advantages to hiring a new leader, especially when it comes to valuable and continuous innovation. However, if founders are not given adequate support to develop their leadership capabilities, this can pose a huge risk to the company and to the founder. Thanks, Gary. I'll talk to you more on that later.
Well, you said a lot, Frank, but I love some of the terminologies that you would have used. I just want to chime in there a little bit. You talk about a talent pipeline, and I do believe that that's an essential point that you would have raised, because very often when we look at the talent pipeline, we're talking about the differences between growth capital and equity capital. And one thing that you made mention of is that these portfolio manager, in terms of growth capital, they understand the capital cost to grow and scale each portfolio. They know this because they are looking at not only historical financial data, they are looking at current market realities and future changes that can take place in the market. And I could recall many years ago when we did project management, while we look at the actual cost of the project at current, we take into consideration the variables in the inflation and market realities that can drive that cost up, and you have to factor that into the project itself. And so that point that you would have made, I love it. I want to say this very quickly, though, on the talent pipeline. I see that accountant has a tremendous role to play in business, as usual. Sometimes when I talk about financial specialists, it sounds as though I'm hitting the accountant. I'm not. By no intention I'm doing that. But I do believe that an essential human resource that you need in your talent pipeline is the financial specialist. Why? Because very often the accountant is not the person to talk to you about debt and equity or growth and equity financing. They are not the expert in this field. And you find that if you have this talent in your pipeline, in the organization leadership, it can play a tremendous role, all right, not only in predicting the cost of portfolio management, but also in mitigating the cost in that particular portfolio, and also mitigating and leveraging the excess liquidity within the organization. But we're going to get into that at another time. But those are some very, very strong points that you would have made. And Frank, I want to now come to Shivani, but those are strong points that you would have made. And Frank, and love that. So I'm going to come to Shivani, and then I'm going to come across to Peter to chime in his thoughts on what is shared so far. Shivani, all to you.
Thanks, Gary. Now, coming out of thinking about what Frank was saying, the importance of influence and how do you really influence. In my experiences, project management and program management, program is management of multiple related projects, which is very, very important in organizations. We just can't look at a project in silos. This is one of the issues that I have been seeing, and the challenges when we want to do projects in silos and you don't have an overall structure for how projects should be integrated within the entire organization, which is more program management, and it can help you in the organizational strat. But we're saying that now one of the biggest issues or challenges will not be your trade. If you're an expert in as an engineer or as a doctor or as a lawyer, one of the biggest challenge a lot of persons are facing will be how do you influence. They don't know how to influence the outcome. You just don't know how to influence the outcome. So you will be very good at your subject matter, because that's how project management would be designed. Originally it is designed like that, that you have to be an expert in the particular area that you're running. However, I mean, that's changing quite a lot. I run projects and I'm not the SME in that particular field. I'm an expert in project management. So me saying that in terms of the influence, that is a trait, that is a skill that we must develop. How do you influence something? Now, there was a simple example, and it just reminded me about it last week at one of my in one of my buildings, my properties that I oversee in facilities management. We wanted to there were some spaces that we needed now to put up doors. Now there are doors already, but the doors are bad, right? So they came to me and said, well, Shivani XYZ, right? So I went down to the site, and when I looked at it, I said, but to myself, why does we have to purchase these doors now when we really funding is lacking, we don't have the proper maintenance budget, um, revenue versus expenses and all those things. So why do we have to do that? But they want it because, I mean, you need it. When I look at it, you need it. So we started to brainstorm, and I said, but wait, there are doors right here on the other side of the building that is not being used. Can we just simply swap it? Right? So the idea came like that. And of course, you would hear persons giving you a lot of, what is the word, Frank? They would say that a lot of hesitation,
Mhm.
Pushback.
Pushback, right?
Mhm.
But you will have persons on that in that same conversation that will say, well, Shafani, that is really a good idea. So what I love to do now, I don't really publicize it so much, but it's a divide and conquer sometimes, right? Sometimes you
Mhm.
have to divide and conquer. You have to see who are the people that will give you the support for an idea that you want, which is influencing the outcome. Not everybody is going to support the idea, but there will be people, And you have then to analyze why it is that Gary doesn't support it and Peter supports it. Simply could be that Gary doesn't support it because he doesn't understand, or he finds that there's more work. So I have to realize that I have to explain it in a way. I have to give the instructions in a way that is very easy to understand for everyone. A lot of times managers may think or leaders may think, oh gosh, the problem is not me, the problem is you. But a lot of time the problem is not the staff, the problem is the manager, because they inform wrongly. They did not think out the entire process. So influence in project management, in program management, are skills that we must develop more. We are very good at our trade, but this will make, because the engineer could, or the construction worker could go and change the door, but you don't have money. How are you going to change the door? What is needed now is a different way to think, where we'll call it lateral thinking, right? Lateral thinking to get all these different ideas. And when you do this now, you will have a better way. So great ideas in program and project managers, really, in how do you influence the outcome that you want, which is encouraging lateral thinking. You do not have to be an expert in the particular field. Sometimes being an expert in the field that I have seen, you can't practice lateral thinking because you only know it one way. And you say, you have to change the doors, go and buy the doors. This is the process. And they cannot see another way at all. Yeah. Thanks, Gary.
Shivani, you made some great points. And what I like about what you said just now is that sometimes the challenge is not with your team. Sometimes the challenge is with you and how you communicate the information. And you're perfectly correct with that, because I guess all of us, we're guilty of that at sometimes. What I'm talking about a lot these days is the art of selling an idea. And the way we train people to go about doing this is to recognize that everyone, they have a castle. All right. They either an ice cream castle, the chocolate castle, or a well-built castle. You, as a sales expert, you need to understand which one of these castles best appeals to them. And you have to use that type of lingo when you're communicating with them. For example, that very instant that you have talked about, the individual might want to say, hey, that is an aged door, and it's going to reduce the life cycle. It's going to take away from the quality of how the aesthetics and ambience of this new facility is going to look. Since you can anticipate where they're likely to go because you understand their thinking, you understand their ice cream castle, you can say, okay, this is you come to them with the facts, and the facts that contradicts all that you know they're going to come with, because you're in that position of strength now. You know how to think, and you project your sales pitch beyond the rejections that you can anticipate. It takes time to do it, but that brings me to another point. And I think Frank was alluding to leadership also, just before I bring in Peter. As we talk about leadership, I do believe that there are certain leadership qualities that needs to be practiced more. And I'm speaking now about leadership in the context of looking at historical data. If you're going to be moving to drive a vision forward, a business forward, what are some of the historical facts about doing this? I find sometimes you just get into the whole project with all the emotion, with no data. So in our context, when we talk about proactive leadership, it's not just thinking ahead, seeing beyond problems and taking informed action. It also relates to extracting historical data and analyzing it. It means that looking at current market realities and examine it to make an informed decision. And the last one is also being able to use historical and current data to be able to make market forecasts. All right. Forecasting is something that we don't hear these days about very often. But when you become an expert in analyzing historical data, looking at current realities, it gives you a blueprint where you can actually do some healthy historic forecasting of what the market is going to be like. That in itself sets you up for great leadership, because when you now can predict that this is where the shift is going to take place, because of how you're trained to think, you're already set up to interface with the future outcome, and also set yourself up to be a trendsetter in how you apply leadership to not only achieve an objective fast, but is to maintain that competitive advantage. And I think leadership in of itself plays a tremendous role in all of this. I'll talk to influence next when it's my turn to speak. But let me come to Peter. I know, Peter, you have a lot to say, so let me open up to you a little bit. All to you, Peter.
Well, first of all, Gary, I must again, I cannot overstate the importance of this program. You know, if I had several years ago having a forum like this where I can be speaking directly to a proficient project manager, a leadership specialist, an individual like yourself who is an all-arounder in business development and growth, it would have been so much. I'd been so much further than where I am today, because just to sit here right now and to understand the various stages, just listen to Frank speaking a while ago, and to learn the different stages of leadership, the founder stage, the capacity development stage, or the team development stage, and then the fourth stage of organizational development, and then portfolio management. Just that alone, coming out of this meeting, even that alone has given me so much rich content that I can add to what I'm doing even now, and even to help me with some of the people that I'm working with right now, just to listen to Shivani as she communicates. So what I'm saying to the listening audience, this is a place that you need to be, and when you're coming, do not just don't come to listen. Come with your pen and your paper, because if you should meet Shivani outside and you were supposed to get her expertise, she's going to tell you this. She's going to tell you the same thing, but then you'll have to pay her. You have to write a long check. The same thing with Frank. So don't take this program lightly. Do not take this program lightly. If you're a startup individual, if you're in the middle of your operation, or you're ready to scale to bigger things, this is a place where you can come and get some good information that you can apply immediately. But going to understanding what we leadership and influence from our standpoint of master planning, and we human growth, everything that exists, everything that we do, everything that we have around us is based, or should be designed, for the purpose of human growth and the development of the human person, and all of that. For the development of the human person, we cannot just be slight in our progression, in our determination, in anything that we are seeking to do. We have to be intentional, and that is why we speak about master planning. It is important that individuals take time out to really design. And as we listen to the speakers here, there is this level of design. Earlier on, we were Shivani was talking about a project that she's advancing, and before she even started the project, she said she went into the research. Before she's writing a book, but before she don't just pull ideas out of her head, she went into that period of research. So life planning and human growth comes in 4 stages, right? And I'm going to take one out, and we're going to go deeper into it. But I just want to lay the platform to get our audience to understand. You have to have that overall view. So we look at leadership and influence through the lens of planning. But what are we planning for? You have a personal life, but then your personal life is going to grow into your family life. Your family grows into a community, and all of that requires a corporate structure for you to operate. But just looking at your personal life planning now, and you understanding that you have a mission, you are taking care of you, you become the focus, because if you do not pay attention to what you are doing, then nothing else is going to really work. So purpose, where your personal life is concerned, we would love for you to start out with understanding your purpose. For you to really operate if effectively, you need to start with the objective. What are you really about? You're going to need to look at your mission. If you're going to influence anybody as a leader, you first have to begin to lead yourself. You first have to have an understanding of where it is that you are going. And often recently I was thinking about it in terms of vision and mission, and which should start first. If you're thinking about purpose, which should start first, your vision or your mission. And vision would say that you're going to see something, but seeing something really takes faith. It takes the ability to actually craft images in the mind of somewhere that you have not yet been there, and that can be a challenge depending on your exposure. But then if you begin to just make a decision, man, just make a decision. I got to move from where I am. I have to get somewhere. You just make a decision to move. So you make a decision on a mission, where it is that you are going. Once you make a decision on where it is you're going, then the imagination begins to work, and you begin to see pictures. You begin to see the vision where you want to go. So those two components in terms of purpose, the power of purpose. So for you to design your personal life master plan, there has to be a power that you are associating in and with yourself. And we call it the power of purpose. And the power of purpose is going to craft your mission and your vision. It's going to craft what those things that you are going to do, and those things, and in deciding what you're going to do, it will give you a sense of vision to see as you go along, as you move along in making those decisions. You'll be able to see more clearly what are those things that you need to do. But even in dealing with the personal life master plan, there are a few more things that I will tap into as we continue the conversation. But let me just run it down, and I'll come back to it to see how much of it we can go through. So we are asking individuals to understand the power of purpose. You're going to build your personal life master plan. You're going to need to have the power of purpose. Then you've got to be proficient. You've got to plan, you got to practice, and you got to make projections. I'll come back to those later, but just understand this for this point. In designing your personal life master plan, you need purpose. You have to design. You got to know what you are about, what it is that you are aiming to do, your goals, your objectives. And when you can come to an agreement in what those are, then things begin to be a little bit more clearer in what you need to do. Thank you, Gary.
Wow. Pity have been dropping some powerhouse punches there, man.
Mm.
Frank, are you still standing after those power punches?
Well, he floored me first. That's what happened.
I have to take some of Shavadi's gin and tonic to fight back.
I'm not saying anything again.
Okay.
Don't tell them any more of your secrets, Shani.
Not saying anything again.
Shivani,
Yes, Frank.
a still tongue keeps a wise head.
You're confused. You're confused. I know you're confused. You were not part of the conversation.
A
So you're
still
very
tongue
confused.
keeps a wise head.
Yes.
All right, let me just share it a little bit.
Water.
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 Shabani, Peter taking the setup, he come with a cup this morning, he come with a transparent bottle, so we can't say it's gin or nothing else, eh? That matter.
No.
All
The
right.
gin is clear. So you don't know what you put in that bottle. Gin is clear. If it was a different color.
All right.
You hear? I can't say anything there. This is an expert opinion speaking here now, right?
Yes, subject matter. Subject matter.
My
I really,
opinion didn't matter. The
I,
expert opinion matter.
I know a lot of alcoholic beverages are very clear.
Frank, don't start up here, all right? All right, let me get back. Let me get back to Peter. Peter, you made some a very important point. And what I love, you talk about the power of purpose, and you link this back to vision. I just want to tap in a little bit on vision because what I see, the vision means to me that you have a clear mental picture of what you're going after. And what having a clear mental picture really means is that you're not only seeing that, hey, I can build a house, but you understand in that vision the human, the technical, the capital, and all the other resources that is necessary to build that house. And that's what I call the deep thinking mindset representing the vision. I think sometimes that when people talk about vision, it's just, you have a casual interpretation of what the future holds, not a detailed plan in terms of how to visualize and execute on that vision to achieve it with the highest degree of accuracy. That's something for us to go into because I know there's where you're heading with these power punches. And that's why I got to pause and, from those punches, do some duck and come back again and, take some of Shabani power punches also. But the point, great points. I really love the points that you would have made. Perhaps I have to eat some more KFC to put some fat on the skin so when you punch,
They're not paying us.
I can this to punch.
KFC not paying us, so we're not going to do any more advertisement for KFC.
All right, good. I agree with you. I agree with you. The point I want to come to, the next point that I want to come to, and Shivani would have started this already, is the significant role that influence plays in the ecosystem of driving a business forward. Now, when I talk about influence, I want to put this into the right context. I'm speaking specifically here about influencer marketing. So if we're going to talk about influence, who best or better than the influencer marketing expert to help in driving the success of the business? Now, one of the gaps that we see across the world is that as a rising star in business, you focus on starting the business. You want to do it the right way, so you have built out your organization vision and mission, the culture of the organization, and you have built out all of these things. So you have good corporate governance systems, you have a well-oiled running machine in terms of business. And I want to say kudos to all of that. But at the end of the day, you're always still asking yourself, how can I optimize the business cash flow? Now, when your focus is only on the corporate brand, that is going to get you a very far way to optimize the business cash flow. But let me tell you what can leapfrog that business potential to cash flow fast. When you bring in a social media influencer, an influencer they're coming with certain social skills and certain social graces that really helps to fast track the growth of your business. So I want rising stars in business to really pause a bit and to ask yourself, what is the significant role that an influencer can play to fast track the growth and the cash flow, the scale up of my business? Let me give some graphic example here. We have seen in the case of Nike, Jordan would have endorsed that brand. That brand was a struggling brand before it was endorsed by Jordan. And today, that operation is generating multiple of millions and millions of dollars simply because you had an influencer that come alongside the brand and say, I endorse. Now, what are those traits of the influencer that allow all of this to happen? Well, the influencer are coming to that negotiation table with special skill. One, they're known, all right? They are a public personality, so they are known. Because they're known, they're liked, all right? People like you for sports or your public speaking skills, your leadership skills, your, these different type of stuff. And you're trusted. And every rising star in business, regardless of if you know it or not, you have to break through the know, like, and trust. People feel better to buy and invest with people that they know, like, and trust. And very often breaking through this, it requires a lot of time, years, if you don't know what you're doing, and a whole lot of money to break through the know, like, and trust. There are many companies, even after investing massive amount of capital at this phase, they went bankrupt out. They fell off the shelf. These things do happen. But when the influencer comes into play, they're coming and they're saying, I can part the sea. They're like Moses here now, right? They can part the sea. So there's no longer that struggle to be known and to be liked and to be trusted, because you're now climbing on the shoulders of an influencer and they're helping you to navigate this pathway. So you move through that and you now come immediately to people who want to now invest in you because you had endorsement. And there's a lot of examples of this. I can look at another famous example. The Oprah show with the Oprah, she is a highly influential lady, perhaps one of the wealthiest women in the world. And you find that when you're an author and you sit on her program, you immediately goes to bestseller. Immediately. Then there's no ifs and buts about it. She has hundreds of thousands and millions of persons who support her as an influencer. She's known, she's liked, she's trusted. All right. I can't recall hearing an atom about Dr. Phil before he sat on the Oprah show. But guess what? Because he sat on an influencer show, he is now known across the world. And that speaks to the power of leveraging influencer marketing in driving the scale up and the success of your business. All right. So as a rising star in business, and I have to agree with Peter, perhaps we have to start charging, $1 for every listener that is listening, $1 per minute. I'm kidding, right? But I agree with what Peter would have said. The information that we're given here, if you can apply this information to your business, if you can adopt it to your business, you will bring social personality building, building personal brand. Because all I'm saying here aligned to personal brand, and you have a corporate brand. But when last have you sit a bit and thought about how personal branding can help you to advance your business objective? And doing this, it's a major, major play in optimizing the business success. And what I want is to share with the public very quickly. We practice what we preach. Um, we have built out a very unique platform that we call the GIP Initiative. And I just want to point you very quickly before I open up to Shivani and Frank to how to get to this program, because the GIP Initiative really stands for Global Influencers Partners Program. Now, when you go to this website, which is the bestsellerportal.org, you will see 1 degree to success. And what you would need to do is to scroll on the front page. You come to 1, 2, 3. The third item, you're going to see GIP Initiative. And this program is uniquely built out to really help you to become a global influencer. All right, it's going to show you some of the fastest ways to cash flow your business, some of the fastest way to increase your visibility. And again, what I said, we don't teach it, we don't talk about it unless we have lived it. Over the last 2 months, we have been doing a lot of work in as influencers, and we have connected with over 35,000 persons to our platform. And you don't necessarily have to take my word for it. All you need to do is to go to the same site, and what you will see is one of our channel, and that channel will really help you to get more insight into what we are doing. We have one program which is Habits and Money, and that program will really help you to see some of the work that we are doing. Let me just see if I can bring up that site for you to give you a chance to see some of the work that we are actually doing. So I really want you to take some time and go to this platform, and see what is being done on this platform. Take some time and look at it. Now I'm going to come back just now with the website, the YouTube channel, just to show you a little bit about what we're doing. So my last word for now on this: take some time and ask yourself, how can influencer marketing help me to grow and scale your business? In our context, we are not just training you to do this locally. We can train you to do this nationally, regionally, and internationally. We place a lot of emphasis on helping businesses to go global. That's one of our key focus. And very soon we will be talking to you more about a major initiative that we are currently looking at. And it's all designed to take you and your business international. Shivani, I'm going to ask you to come in now, chime in now. We're almost at time, but I want to hear from you. Then we're going to go around the table. All to you, Shivani.
Hi, Gary. So for me in projects, right, what we're talking about with influence, the influence is a project, as you said. All right, this is a project. What are the benefits of understanding the influence? This is part of change management, and I'll definitely say this is a change management project. So when you look at in business or you look at in organizations, if this is not the way that we work, and majority of people don't work like this and think about influencing changes and being more innovative. We love to talk the talk, but as you said, you have to action it out quite a lot. We need, as leaders, to think about this under the umbrella of a transformational project or a change management project, which should be part of my portfolio of projects. Sometimes we may just do things again in little pockets and you are not seeing the outcome that you want. So I cannot now, in my little circle, just start to talk with my people and tell them, hey, go and change the doors, swap it out. Yes, great. Yes, it may work. But from an organizational point, from real leadership point, you will not be growing the organization in that way, right? You will just be growing it and seeing very, very minute like, successes. So if you take what we are saying here, which is you want to lead, you want to influence, how do you do this thing properly? You need to look at it under the umbrella of a portfolio of projects, and the name of this project should be entitled Transformational Project or Change Management Project. And then you could work it through the entire system. Because as we said way back, in order to turn things into a we, it starts with an I, right? I have to know what I want, and then we'll turn it into a we. You can't form any team unless you, as a leader, know exactly the direction that you want to go in. So, if you want people to start thinking lateral thinking and innovative and great terms like that, you have to set up a structure. And the structure will be I want to do transformational and change management projects, and this is coming under the umbrella of it. And things must be connected. Yeah, Gary, thanks for that.
Powerful share as usual, Shivani. I think that it begins with the I, and is how you elevate the I into a we. I love the fact that you would have stated that the I need to have clear vision, and with that is about pulling the right thinking minds alongside you to help optimize and vision. So I really love your share. Great share. All right, as promised, just before I bring in Frank, I just want to share one of the website. Now, when you go to YouTube, you will see this website, Habits and Money. I want to encourage you to go here now, subscribe. So all these information that we are bringing to you, you can have this information here. Now, the work that myself and team have been doing, I want to give kudos to my team. I have a localized and international team that is working behind a few of these social media platforms. They have been able to bring so far 24,000 to this particular YouTube channel. And this is only one of those channels. And this is what they have been accomplished in less than 3 months. Now, what they have achieved, I want to really blow it up a little bit. In less than 3 months is phenomenal, because we are seeing persons on this platform for 5 years and 8 years, and they have not yet attained this. But in 3 short months, the team has been able to accomplish this. Now, and they didn't accomplish this at full scale. All right, it's not fully optimized. They very soon they're going to get into that gear. So if we can do this, it clearly shows that what we can do for you, all right, in terms of providing you a platform to connect with hundreds of thousands, millions of people across various platforms. On this particular platform, you have 2.70 billion persons on this platform. So as a rising star in business, if you are not incorporating social media marketing into your branding and marketing ecosystem, you're leaving a whole lot of cash flow and opportunity out there. So I just want to put that out there. This is no talk. This is the proof. You have some of the social proof here in terms of what we are doing. And we welcome you on board to give you that support to accomplish some of what we have accomplished, and also give you the platform to leverage it to move your vision further, faster, and optimize your cash flow. With that being said, I want to come over to Frank, and I would love to hear Frank's perspective on leadership, and how leadership and influence plays a pivotal role in fast tracking the scale up of businesses and brands. All to you, Frank.
Thanks, Gary. Um,
Anytime.
I want to just continue with this little discussion where I started. And I want to look at measuring and assessing leadership traits. Instead of looking for experience alone, it is good to look for leadership that will allow a leader to thrive and move a company into its next stage of growth. So when we're advising our clients on leadership readiness, we talk about 3 key factors. The first one is leadership agility. How well does someone pivot and perform in the face of complexity and ambiguity? Organizational leadership. How well do they provide vision and help the organization execute that vision with clarity and success? And leading others, how well do they build and develop teams? How skilled are they in interfacing with stakeholders such as boards? Otter's leadership fit framework, which is developed by our human capital consultant team, breaks each of these key factors into the following competencies. One is the leadership agility, where you're thinking dexterity. You have interpersonal savvy, growth proficiency, and personal spirit. Then you have the organizational leadership, which is strategic clarity, organizational alignment, results and change execution, and leading others. Are you a talented developer, team builder, stakeholder influencer? These competency categories are levers. The more lever a leader can access and pull in the face of change and complexity, the more successful they will be in moving a startup or company up the spectrum of growth and scale. As competent as a leader may be, they're still human. And most leaders over leverage on one or two of those components and need some coaching and development to learn to leverage the rest. For example, a leader may over-index on using facts and logic via thinking dexterity to sway stakeholders, but could fall short when this approach doesn't work for audiences that are brought along through other types of influence, such as strategic clarity or personal spirit. No leader naturally possesses every key competency. And this is where coaching and development come into play to ensure a high chance of success. How do you set the leader up for success? Identifying the right leader is only part of the equation for successful scale. And once a company finds and hires a leader to take them to the next level, they must make sure that leader has the support they need in order to succeed in that endeavor. To put things into perspective, corporate executive board estimates that 50 to 70% of executives fail within 80 months of taking on a new role, regardless of whether they were an external hire or promoted from within. And the Harvard Business Review estimates that the cost of this failure equates to 400% of the executive's salary. Regardless of a new executive's qualification, seamless alignment with a team and cultural assimilation can make or break the onboarding process. And this is an even bigger deal than you might think. And statistics reveal that 50% of startups don't make it past their first 5 years. 66% of the time, this is due to a lack of investment in the founder's leadership capabilities and or a lack of support trying to help them develop critical decision-making skills. And that's according to Noam Wasserman, the founder's dilemma. So the good news is you can stack the numbers in your leader's favor and your own by investing in leadership development and coaching. And there are several things you can do regardless of stage to give your leadership the best chance of success. I'm not going to go into it, but it's just going to highlight the first one is establish baseline leadership capabilities. 2, invest in best-in-class executive onboarding. 3, conduct free reviews that assess leaders in relation to those baseline capabilities to identify gaps and development areas. The 4th one is invest in coaching and leadership development. Engage in systemic team coaching. And because of time, I'll give you my final thoughts now. Scaling effectively can be challenging, in particular because leadership needs and competencies can look so different at different stages in a company's evolution. So to set your company up, portfolio company up for a successful scale and exponential growth, think carefully about exactly what you need before you make a decision about who you need. Given the importance of identifying and assessing your skills, it's a good idea to seek help with crucial leadership decisions. But you need to keep in mind that large executive search firms may approach executive recruitment with a fixed process. So for evolving company startups, more nuance is needed when selecting leadership to help you scale. And you can get more of this information from the writer Oscar Spinston. And so, Gary, I hope this would have more or less impacted our listeners and you also. Over to you.
All right, thanks for that share, Frank. Um, I'm trusting also that when that book comes out, if not the first, the second would at least have some details on what we have discussed here. So I'm also excited to get a copy of that book. Great share. I will turn now to Peter for his closing thoughts, and then I'll come back to Shivani for her closing thoughts also.
Yeah, Gary. Yeah, I wanted just to remind our listeners of the gaining proficiency is the next thought that I wanted to bring. We just spoke about having purpose, but within that purpose, for that purpose to be exercised, there are levels of proficiency, because the idea of moving from becoming a leader and influencing people, and as we're saying now, that it has to start with ourselves first in whatever it is that we're doing, achieving our mission, crafting our vision. But nobody starts out being all of that at the beginning. There is, and I find that a lot of individuals, why the world is in the state that it is, because we tend to compare ourselves. We see the Michael Jordan out there, and what we do not see is how Michael Jordan became Michael Jordan. And so you find an individual starting out, and they want to become all of that right now. They do not recognize that Michael Jordan had years and years of failure and failure and failure and failure and failure, and until he became successful. So what we want to talk about now is the power of proficiency. The power of, if you're going to be a leader, if you're going to influence people, then it means that you have to attain a level of proficiency in something. So we're going to say that you have to pick your thing. What is that thing that is you're going to build your leadership on? What is that thing that you're going to use to influence people? And I must also give acknowledge Shivani, because she's the one that mentioned the next point that I'm going to mention right now. I did some more research a couple programs ago. She mentioned something, and I did some research on it, and it forms now what I'm about to say to our audience, which is it is highly critical, because we teach mastery, personal life master plan. You have to develop your master plan, but mastery is actually what we call, when we say the power of proficiency, which comes really in 5 stages. As I said, nobody is going to start today and tomorrow they are all of that. So you're going to start out as a novice. So the 5 stages of proficiency, you start out as a novice. You know nothing about what you're doing. You just have an idea. You just have a vision of where you want to go. You have a mission in the sense that you are determined that you're going to do something. But in starting to do that thing, you're not going to be good at it at first. You're gonna fall. You're gonna act just like a baby starting out in their first stages to walk. They're gonna stumble. You're going to start out as a novice. It's going to feel awkward. You're going to make all the mistakes. So be comfortable in making those mistakes. But as you continue to make those mistakes, you're going to move out of, you're going to learn from those mistakes. And eventually, you're going to move out of the novice stage and you're going to go into the beginner stage. You now begin to stabilize. You're going to realize that the first couple of steps that you took, what caused you to fall. So you're going to gain some balance and you're going to go into the beginner stage. And as you move through the beginner stage, then you're going to develop some level of competency because now you're really beginning to understand the content. You're going to understand what it is that you need to do. Your confidence is now developing. You are becoming more competent, and people are watching that growth as well. You're gaining a level of influence because persons now are beginning to compliment you, and you're beginning to feel that, wow, you're getting this thing. But then you go into proficiency. You can add some style and flavor to what you're doing. Then you begin to sound like Gary when he begins to speak and he begins to coin his own. You can take ideas from other people and then he blends his own twist on it and he begins to speak. And when you just have to listen, it sounds now like music to your ear when you're listening to what is being said. And then eventually you become an expert because you are now respected. And an expert is just somebody who has been respected for their journey. An expert, what is an expert? An expert is just somebody now, the go-to person. People recognize them over the years. Why does Oprah become Oprah? Oprah becomes Oprah because people recognize when she just started out on her own, when she was just a few 10 or 20 people in her audience. And people just go on there and her ideas sound good and they keep talking. But they watch her growth over time. And so when they now need somebody for that level, when they need somebody to in a particular area, now they don't go to the other networks. They go to Oprah. Everybody want to be on her show because if they come on her show, they know what the result is going to be. At that level, you now become the go-to person. When people think about it, they're going to call your name. So what we're empowering individuals to do as they build out their personal life master plan, you need to become that expert in your own life. You become that proficient person in your own life, but we also want you to recognize, do not feel like a failure when you're just starting out. And how are you going to do that? The one thing that is going to cause you to be able to move from novice to expertise is one thing, just one thing: consistency. Keep at it. Keep at it. Pick your thing and keep at it. Do not give up when the tough, because it's going to become tough. It's going to become discouraging sometime, but keep at it. Eventually, you wake up one day and you're looking at and you're celebrating how far you have come. Thank you.
Great share, Peter. The last point that you have made there is embrace the pain. Because if you don't embrace the pain and grow through the pain, and you fail, it's not you failing, but you fail yourself. You know, you give up on you. There's always, possibilities for you to achieve greatness. And I think everything that we would have said, you might be taking action, so your pain is lengthy. But if you get a mentor like Shivani, like Frank, like yourself, who are now able to help them to take informed action to achieve a specific end result, you can reduce that pain. All right. So I love what you would have said there. Shivani, all to you. your last thought, your closing remarks on today's program?
Now, as you all were speaking, it came to my mind the importance of project management for this, right? It just making me see so much the importance of PM to speak about leadership and influence. So if you want to get this thing right, I'll always tell persons, as a manager, as a leader, as a business owner, as the person in charge, look at the outcomes. Where are you? Am I not what I'm supposed to be achieving? Is productivity low? Why is it? And then you work backwards. So you say, okay, the outcome is not what I want. I'm not making the money. I'm not getting the revenue. Productivity is low. Morale is low. You have to look at the outcomes first. And when you look at it, then you determine how do you get there, which is your inputs. And it's like what Peter has been speaking about too. You look at what you want to achieve. So you look at the outcomes and then you start with your inputs to get it. And the inputs would definitely be a change management project and a transformational project in order to do this type of strategic thinking to influence the outcome that you want. We can't do things in silos. You have to have a structure in place and then let it flow. So, closing remarks, Gary. Thanks. Things could happen and things could happen well if you do it well.
Yeah, I just want to come alongside you to say how important project management is to influence the project outcome. So whether you're a leader or you are an influencer, if you can think in context of project management, it's a super plus that you have. Because what project management does, it takes your idea and it downloads it into the project management framework. And what the project management framework helps you to do is to understand, what is your project start date, what is your project end date, what are completion criteria, what are budget, and all the other moving parts to make the project successful. And sometimes having this degree of clarity that project management helps you to get is what you really need to drive that project into overdrive towards attaining the end results. So I'm happy that we have Shabani here, a project management practitioner that can really help you, rising stars in business, to better understand how the project management complements your business ecosystem. So do reach out to us. We'll be happy to talk with you. And so much more is going to be coming. So I want to encourage you to like, subscribe, and share. So you will be the first to be updated on the great things that we are about to introduce to you. I want to thank over 35,000 persons who are now our new subscribers from over 50 countries. I want to thank you for supporting this platform. And I'm inspired by your support of us. Frank, can you tell us a little bit about that book? Can you give the public some more nuggets before we wrap up on what that book is about?
Definitely. The book just speaks to how in this 21st century change in dynamics, especially after COVID, how business are able to succeed, how are they able to meld and gel with the culture of whatever organization they may, whether it's local or international. How can they face competitors and compete in the same space and still be successful? It speaks to the way we treat with our customers. It speaks to the way we treat with stakeholders. And so it all ties into what practices are we doing in leadership, not just locally, but internationally. I'm going to delve into some things more later on as we do some things. I don't want to give any spoilers right now.
Awesome. Well, great. I can't wait to get that book. I know a lot of information that can help people to make better business decisions will be there. I want to thank my team for always showing up. Peter, mighty man, great in theology, and always concerned about, human resource, enhancement. I want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing and always coming and, being part of this global movements that we are now setting up. I want to also give acknowledgement to Frank. Frank is, very much, like yourself. He's a great man. Frank wears many hats. He's an economist. He's a leader, but he's very deep in the body of Christ. He does a lot of work there, and so I really want to acknowledge you guys and encourage you guys to keep doing the great work that you're doing to help to make our world a better place. I must also acknowledge Shivani. I think that she's a beacon of light for women across the world because, she is a leader in her own right. She manages multiple businesses. She's a lecturer and she loves humanity. So I want to also acknowledge you. And I want to say, have a great week ahead. It's Monday, so it's the start of the week to go make some money. I'm rubbing shoulder now with Peter. Peter's doing all the real estate moves, so I gotta come rub some shoulder. You got all the mega dollars coming in. you, guys, you guys
Yes.
enjoy the rest. All right, enjoy the rest of the day.